these are very interesting conversations that don't require a partisan view. They don't require taking a side, right? You can actually sit and probe and look at these questions in a way that doesn't always land in what's happening here and now,
Hey Nick, how you doing? It's good to see you.
Hey Dee, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine, thanks. So tell me, what's new? Cheers.
Cheers. I had to do my consumption out of doors because I'm in a non-smoking home right now, which is okay. But I did bring for show and tell what I consumed before the podcast. So this is from a local grower called Good Buds, and this is glue orangutan. So it's an orangutan and a glue cross of some sort. And it was really nice. It was a 1 gram. It was a full 1 gram joint, and really enjoyed that.
A pre-roll.
Okay. And then I also picked up from the same company, a little all-in-one disposable vape, which is live resin.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So creamy.
So yeah.
Awesome. So you're good to go. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm good to go. I'm already fortified.
Okay. Well, I'm just enjoying some flower here in my studio, and so and I can't even tell you what kind it is. I think it's strawberry cough or something. I don't know. I barely even listen to the names anymore because I'm doing old school, so it's my guy. Whatever he's got, that's what he's got.
Right. And if I remember correctly, it's more like outdoor than indoor, which I don't know if you've found the same, but I find that some of the flavor and the real nuance that you get from the different cultivars, it's not quite as strong when it's outdoor versus indoor. You notice that?
Well, I'm going to say that I've never really considered myself a connoisseur, as it were. And, mostly I can tell the difference between the cultivars by the effect that they have on me, right? Not be the effect on someone else, but and how it is to smoke and how it burns, that kind of stuff. But I can't, I probably couldn't tell between a Kush and a, something else. But whatever. It's because I don't really care about that. I care more about the effect that it has on me, and than I do about the particular cultivar. However, that being said, I still stand by my favorite cultivar called Purple Space Cookies. I enjoyed that the most in my whole life. I just love that cultivar.
And people, I think a lot of people still call them strains. So we'll definitely, if people have, I think cultivar is cool. I like using them interchangeably because a lot of people do still resonate with strain. That's still part of the culture and how people think about it. But I also, it creates an equality with other products. I find when I talk about it in certain circles or in certain communities with the scientific side, when I emphasize the scientific part of cannabis, there's a different energy in certain rooms. So I feel like if I'm representing cannabis, if I'm being an ambassador, then I'm going to try and use more of the scientifically correct terminology. But if I'm just hanging out with people, with folks, whatever, like anything goes, I don't try and police the language. I don't try and watch what I say. I'll say I smoke weed. I won't just always say cannabis. I'm fine with that kind of, let's go blaze or whatever the youngsters are saying. I mean, I'm too old to know, but back in our day, that's what we would say.
It's funny because legalization had a lot to do with changing our language. We changed our language to best help other people feel more comfortable with it all. And so you're right. Like I definitely talk about it differently when I'm, doing something professional as versus when I'm doing something personal. I'm just hanging, just a consumer. But yeah, I use those words interchangeably. A lot of words I use interchangeably, like cannabis and ganja and Mary Jane and, you know, plant medicine.
Yeah.
I love it. It's got lots of names. She's got lots of names that I can call her.
Truly, like, and that's part of the, like, it's interesting because Prohibition, you know, it creates this need for code words and slang and secret, like, how's it going over, you know, coughing through things. Like it forced us to create these little pockets of language and things that spread, and it actually is what it has that's what has the cachet of coolness, is that it's this underground thing. So then it comes back through the culture, right? So it's tried to be suppressed by these authorities, but all they do is just actually totally push it out into the world through through the way that culture ultimately travels, which isn't through power, but through free association and choice and that creativity that brings up that we are, you know, doing as humans.
Yeah, that's a good point. What's some of the things, you know, it made me think about some of the ways that, you know, this code lingo, you know, over the years, some of the funniest ways, you know, that people inquire as, you know, they're trying to find out whether you're a consumer or you want to buy some pot or whatever the case may be. I remember one guy in Hawaii said to me, "Do you want to go outside and meet Bob Marley?"
That's awesome.
I'm like, oh yeah, sure. Yeah. One time I went to a conference with another friend of mine who was actually, you know, we were in our like 50s and 60s, and we went to a conference in California, and this guy walked past us while we were standing outside having a coffee, and he was like, and I'm like, excuse me, excuse me, did you say what I thought you said? Turned out he did, and we got a good hookup there, but it was kind of funny. We didn't get we wouldn't get it for us though until I had to show him my ID that I was a visitor.
Right.
And he said I had to repeat after him, "I hate the police." I hate the police. That's okay. I don't really, but you know, I knew what he meant. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like whatever I got to say here. What's just show me. It's always interesting too, right? Because there's that. It's in a way of trying to vet people. Mm-hmm. But it's a really silly, like if you're an undercover cop and they're like, you're not going to balk at it saying I hate the police just to not get the arrest, right?
Silly.
It's like a little like security blanket that he has that's probably not going to be that protective, really. But I get it. You know, you're in the underground world trying to make a buck and not get arrested.
Yeah, and you're just like a middle-aged woman who's just happens to be out of town and didn't want to take anything across the border. You know what I'm saying? From Canada, so it's
yeah. Like it's like this the common saying or something I meme that said, you know, drugs or cannabis, they're not illegal because they're dangerous. They're dangerous because they're illegal.
Exactly. That's such a valuable point that a lot of people aren't really aware of, I think. Mm-hmm. They think that it's illegal because somebody knows better, right? Like somebody knows better, and so therefore they are protecting other people.
Okay, I want to go in a little bit of a different direction for a second here because it just sparked something that you just said.
Sure.
Do you also see that people have this need for like a parent, like the government to kind of be their parent, you know, or society to be a parent, like, and so that's why they'll say things like, yeah, no, they would never, like I've had conversations with family members before legalization and they're like, oh, cannabis will never, ever be legalized. Like, just forget about it. Like, forget about it. It's bad. The government wouldn't make it illegal if it wasn't bad. It's obviously drugs. you're crazy. And which was, you know, was I was bringing facts and articles and things, and that's what I got in return. But I wonder if people, like, because of everything that's happening with the corruption coming out of these elites and what they've been doing and what they've been up to and like what governments are really about, do you think that that's kind of cracking a bit? And do you think, or is there still a lot more to go before people give up on that kind of security blanket?
That's a really good question. And, you know, I mean, I don't know, but I'll give you my opinion. I feel like there is a shift towards people seeing more, not necessarily truth, but seeing more what deception looks like. And you know, it's getting very difficult. I remember my eldest daughter asked me once, well, I'll just finish that train of thought. It's getting more difficult to understand where the truth is. So my eldest daughter asked me one time, we were having a discussion of which we both had very opposing views. And she asked me, well, how do you find the truth? And I thought, wow, you know, that's a really good question too. Like, how do you find the truth? And, you know, is there more than one truth, right? And so these are the kinds of questions that people that consume often, you know, will ask themselves or other people, right? Because these are the kinds of conversations we like to have. And so, you know, what I said to her was, you know, as truthful as I could be. And I just said, well, I feel that, you know, the gathering, like Confucius says, the gathering of knowledge is not the same. The gathering of information is not the same as knowing. And so, you know, I say to her, well, I guess you do your research as much as you can. And, you know, ultimately you go with what feels true for you. Because the thing is, like, that's the problem. Who can you trust to tell you the truth? And B, if there's more than one truth, then, you know, that's a little bit complicated. Right? So it's not necessarily, so I guess what I'm saying is, like, you know, how that plays out is that somebody has a different opinion about something than you do, and you are convinced that, you know, what is true for you, but that might not necessarily be true for someone else, but it can still be truth. It can still be their truth. And so, I don't know, for me, there is no better way in my mind. And what I love about plant medicines is that they help unlock that door to seeing what the truth can be for me. You know, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, I think just to riff off of what you're saying or where you're going, for me, if I think about this question, you know, what is it about? Let's just say strictly with cannabis, just to keep the example tight. But what is it about cannabis, or, you know, stoner talk, or, you know, sesh talk, that always seems to go to very deep places? Whether it's like contemplating, you know, the what happened, you know, how did my apple become an apple, or just, and it's very much stigmatized in popular movies and culture and film of like, hey man, like, what about the aliens? But seriously, what about the aliens is, you know, a question that a lot of people have. So I think it's just very interesting that when we consume, when we have our puff, when we have our sessions, and then our minds open up immediately to like very deep questions and contemplative questions. Like when you're talking about the truth, I'm like, okay, my question then is, wow, okay, so if if some of us, or if most of us, are moving towards this place where we can be responsible for our own truth and be like, I'm going to stand in what I believe, how do we then have a community of people walking around with different versions of the truth when it comes to very controversial things, right? As much as we want to think that everyone's truth will just kind of balance out, there'll come times like around major events or world whatever crises that these truths start to conflict, and we don't, and how do we, it's not really a question for you, it's a question for humanity, right? Like, how do we build something that these multiple truths and these infinite truths can live in harmony?
Big question. And, you know, the only thing I can think of is I remember visiting Ephesus. Do you know Ephesus in Turkey?
Mm.
It's a place there. It's actually where Cleopatra and Mark Antony consummated their relationship. But anyways,
spoiler alert.
It was an interesting place to me because I have really, in my travels, one of the things that I've always liked to do is seek out spiritual places. And that, before I tell you that story, I want to kind of go back on what you said in the beginning about, you know, finding our truth, like finding truth. And one of the things is that I will say that I think is a benefit to myself for having left home early, is that even though I was raised in a religious setting, being on my own at such an early age, I had to find what my ethics and my morals and my ethos was for myself based on what I was experiencing out in the world. Okay, so but some people spend their whole lives in what I call social indoctrination, right? And that is basically whatever belief is popular or common around you. Mm. And so yeah, I think that when we have a lifetime of learning, and first of all, we're taught when we're young not to question these things, that other people know much better than us, and that, you know, this is the proper or the right or the whatever, fill in the blank, way to believe or to act or whatever. And while it is true that it's great to have good examples of things, you know, ultimately, we all at some point come to that place where we have to decide to choose for ourselves. So that's what I mean about, you know, choosing what to believe is true. You cannot, I mean, there are some things maybe that are absolute truth. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. There's probably lots of things that are absolute truth according to them that I don't know nothing about. So, you know, I think the answer where I was going with this was that, you know, we have to be open. We have to believe what we believe to be true. We have to choose that. And then we have, you know, the best way is to just stay open to further information. Mm-hmm. And there's a phrase that I kind of heard once, and it's just always stuck with me, is I don't want to be the kind of person that has contempt prior to investigation. Mm-hmm. So, you know, and that's also why I also want to allow myself to change. I want to allow myself to grow as I gather new information. Maybe something that was true, you know, a year ago is no longer true.
Yeah.
So, yeah, truth is a really tough word. It's kind of like love in my mind. That is just like really kind of amorphous, ambiguous in many ways. It means different things to different people. And, you know, all I can say is ultimately, I find myself the happiest when I surround myself with people who are not just about share my belief, but share my philosophy about belief.
Right. It's not what you believe, it's how you believe.
Yeah, and that's what made me think of Ephesus. Just going back to that, that's what made me think of Ephesus, because Ephesus was around in a time when, you know, you were either persecuted if you believed in Christianity or persecuted if you didn't. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Literally, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. So, and it was a place where all people, both like intellectual, philosophical, religious, all kinds of people could meet and speak and share and like live their own belief system without feeling like they were infringing on somebody else or having somebody else infringe their beliefs upon you. Mm-hmm. And that is my goal for my, you know, what I call like my community, right? My circle of people that I like to be with. Mm-hmm. That's important that that they are like that too. So they don't have to believe what I believe. But, you know.
But it's their philosophy towards belief that you're looking for alignment on, which is not the same as before, right? Historically, you'd be like, all right, you're from my country, you from my religion, you say God like I say God, okay, we're mates, we're a family now. Whereas now it's like, no, are you here to grow and learn from life and its experiences? Like, are you here to create love and build communities? Like, okay, those are the things that I'm finding more of alignment with. Although I want to say, like, I do think it's important to call out that in that whole process, I'm still bumping up against people who are not willing to accept my truth or at least are still trying to put their truth on me if I want to participate. So it's still a very it's a very new way, because I think this idea of like truth, right? Saying your truth, that's truly at a sense, that's being a mature person. When you come to the realization that you know certain things and you know that you don't know other things, and that you know that you don't know most of everything else. Right. And that's maturity of being like, I know me, I know what I like and I don't like. I know who I love and I don't love, but I do not know, you know, some of these bigger questions, like what is the truth? So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a tough one. You know, I'm sure lots of people would argue, oh, there's many absolute truths, right? Like there's day and night, I guess, you know, that's an absolute truth. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking more about beliefs, you know, because what we believe is so powerful because it governs how we feel and it governs how we act.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I think as humans, we're always going to be selectively choosing the truths because we can't see the whole picture. We don't have that ability. We're too small in the universe to get these absolute truths, right? Capital T truths. Like, how are we going to get that in a lifetime? How are we going to, there's not enough books we could read. There's not enough shamans we could study with. There's not enough, like, you know, like weird fire walking like rituals we could do to really get the whole experience of what it's like. We only can see our own little sliver of life here and now. And then what you were talking about, these social matrix that we live in. And, you know, another philosopher called them the cultural horizons. Like we can't see past like the place that we're in fully. So it's a really fun game to be human, but it can be tricky when we're trying to like create stuff together.
And, you know, like for me, I'm going to add that when I'm looking for truth, you know, first of all, I am very aware that the truth, asking people for their truth is really important, that I'm open to what the answer might be. You know, like I shouldn't be asking if I don't really want to hear the answer, if there's certain answers I don't want to hear. You know what I'm saying?
I just to interject quickly here. I think that you find, the older I get, the more I realize people display their truth through how they act on a daily basis. And as much as I'm like, that's what I'm looking for in my alignment search with people, it's not what they say. It's not, are they pro-choice or pro-life or, you know, this state, that red, blue, whatever color political thing, right? Like that's not enough anymore for us to understand if we have an alignment with the person.
Exactly.
It has to go much deeper. And like you said, like how do we approach the belief versus do we believe the same things?
Exactly. What a distinction, right? It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you know, like I like to choose things that bring joy and that bring growth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't understand a lot, to be honest, about people that seek truth to confirm their worst fears.
Yeah.
Like I don't really understand that. That is like, to me, some kind of self-punishment of some sort. I don't know. You know, because the thing is, you know, seek and you shall find, just like the Bible says. If you're looking for pain and suffering, you're going to find it. Oh my God, it's abundant.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so I feel like it's important for me in my life to consciously seek joy, to consciously seek what it is that you know, helps me grow, helps, you know, expand my perceptions, not to be unaware, but to make sure that I'm kind of balancing it out at least, you know. It's like you can't, like if you listen to news all the time, but you never listen to music or you never listen to anything else, right? Mm-hmm. Like that is just gonna be so heavy in your energy, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's not a lot of good stuff going on in the news these days. Doesn't seem like they really want to make their bones reporting on anything of positive nature. It seems
it's funny because on the flip side of like social media, the things that are most popular are the things that are heartfelt, to the point that people are actually making up sad, heartfelt, feel-good stories and putting them out there, like because they know that that's the kind of thing that people love. So it's so ironic that like what's going viral versus what's on the news is becoming more and more different.
Yeah, it's like the cute dog videos.
Yeah, people love that, right? No. They love, and we can all bond over dog videos. We don't have to talk about politics or whatever religion. It's like, yeah, we can just all be like, look at that cute puppy.
Yeah, yeah. So like, it's just like I guess what I'm really what's coming to mind for me right now is just like how important it is that when you're talking about like our influence, right? Like what we're influenced by when we're seeking that our truth, right? Mm-hmm. You know, we have a responsibility within that. Mm-hmm. To make choices, to choose what is it we are putting into our, you know, knowledge. What is it that we are learning about? What is it that you know, we are feeding? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know, man. And like honestly, it's serious because some of the things, you know, well, a lot of the things, let's face it, a lot of things going on in our world are traumatic. like their trauma. And you know, we're going along for the ride through social media, through television or cable or, you know, whatever, right? Internet. We're following along. So we are going through that trauma in a closer way than ever before. And so we are experiencing that trauma, but we're not even like really talking about it. We're just wondering why we can't sleep properly, why we can't, you know, why we're feeling anxiety, you know, or stress, you know, and because that's on top of like life in general, and life in general can be quite stressful. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like honestly, I just I just feel for us as people, you know, and I just hope that, you know, people are giving themselves the love and nurturing and gentleness that they deserve right now.
Spoiler alert. They're not. There aren't. Not enough. Not even a little. Not even close.
Yeah, they probably think I'm talking crazy. That woman's
I think that there are people listening right now or watching right now that are going like, "Oh my God, that's me." And like the thing is that the people that give a shit are the ones to beat themselves up when things go badly or when, you know, when others are suffering and they're not helping, right? So if you feel badly or if you feel moved by the world and it's suffering, you're one of the good ones, right? And for those people, like those are the ones who need that care of being like, I can't do everything. It's not on me. It's not my fault. I didn't do this. I'm going to try to help my best, but I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to take care of my family. And if there's anything left, I'm going to help my neighbors, you know, as much as I can. And nobody can ask anything more that from a human life than that, in my view.
Me either. Like, you know, like, honestly, I don't know. We're so hard on ourselves and each other. You know what I mean? We have all these expectations and they're just so incredibly unreal. You know, so of course we set ourselves up for failure if we expect that, you know, we can go through this life, you know, being aware, but like completely unaffected. You know what I mean? So I just feel like the harder things are at any particular time, the more important and valuable it is for me to, you know, take an active role in trying to frickin' support myself.
Yes. Yeah. What's coming to mind is an earlier episode on the reframing episode, because this is where the people who are delusionally positive and hopeful, who are able to forgive themselves after doing or saying what is maybe seemed as unforgivable, but being insanely irrationally forgiving towards ourselves is an unlock for happiness that people are starting to see. And it's now is this time, if you're able to look at this moment, for example, and go like, okay, whoa, the world is on its ass for real, absolutely real. But then it's like, oh, but I just walked to a business and I bought a pre-roll that was legal and I didn't get arrested, and then I smoked it in a park and nobody cared. So it's like we have 3 types of toilet paper if we wanted, or 7 different choices of basmati rice. Like, we're in this really weird place where the world is as best as it's ever been for a lot of people. For the majority of the people, the world is as best as it's ever been. But then for this underclass or these people on the margins, it's as worse as it's ever been. So it's a real mind warp to try and, make all that make sense and still be like a human and do what you need to do every day.
And, I don't know about you, but like, the most heartbreaking thing about all of that to me is that we are such incredible beings. We're so intelligent, we're so clever, we're so, inquisitive and curious, which of course curiosity spurs growth, right? And we're capable of so much goodness. And this is what we're doing with trying to destroy each other, and in so doing, destroying ourselves. Like, this is, I don't know. I just, I don't want to get to that old lady place where I'm like, this fucking world, these people, I don't want to get there. I don't know. I've met people like that, and I don't want to be like that because I really want to nurture as much as possible and encourage and hopefully inspire people to find the joy, find the beauty. And it's not impossible at all. In fact, it's easier than a lot of people think it is. So, But the thing is, you know, you do have to actively look, because you get distracted by the avalanche of negative bullshit that's going on, right? And it clouds your vision. You can't see past it. So, you know, but honestly, for me, that is the most heartbreaking part. You know, if we could just put that same energy that we're putting towards these things, like being in war and like, you know, trying to take something from somebody else because we want it, you know, or trying to, you know,
Greenland.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, shoot, Vapes.
Sorry, I have a Greenland in my throat.
Yeah, but you know, and like, if we allow ourselves, because honestly, it's about greed, and it's about control, and it's about corruption, and about power. You know, that's what's driving all of this. You know, and so like, it would be so nice if that same energy level was directed at love and compassion and healing and connection, community.
Have you seen the monks for Walking for Peace? Have you seen them yet?
Oh
my gosh, because I feel like they are really answering your call right now. They're in the States. They're a group of Buddhist monks, and they're called Monks for Peace, and they've been walking across the whole country like Forrest Gump style for the last few months, and they just bring crowds of people wherever they go. People are weeping, they're giving them flowers, they're cheering, they're getting these little blessings, and it's like the people need this so badly, right? And here these humans have responded to this call, and you know, put themselves in this dedicated place to bring this to people. So it does feel like, you know, this is what the calls are being answered, is my sense. Like the calls are starting to be answered. That humans are crying out for connection and love, and other humans are like, yeah, it's time to make that the norm. It's time to put that out front and center.
Yeah, because like, honestly, it has been a lot of division, you know. The powers that be, whatever they are, wherever they are, you know, they thrive when there is division, because there is far more of us people just wanting to live their best lives and raise their families and you know, die with dignity. Like, there's more of us than there is of them. So the only way that they can, you know, control the narrative is to keep us divided. And I feel like, just like, you know, the cannabis community, Nick, you know, like, we're so diverse, we're so also different, right? But we come together over the passion for this plant. And so, you know, I hope that we can find that common thing that brings the people out together. Because once the people are out together, that's the only thing that can change what's going on. And I know that there was a movement going on in the States about like the general strike. And I know that there's been talk about that for a very long time, and it's happening to a small degree in some places. And I love that as well. But the intention or the approach is different. I guess I favor the more, you know, loving one. I don't know.
For me, it's like it's yes and right. I think that there are some people, especially the youth, who need to express their anger and their frustration in the streets and shake the powerful and really send messages of like, this is a people where every once in a while. Every once in a while through human history, the elites, they forget that they're a part of the human family, and they need to be reminded. And you know, and so there's that need, like that's just there. It's always there. Like, everybody needs a check on their power. If you give people unlimited power, it leads to unlimited unhappiness and despair. So I think people are desperate to be freed from their positions of oppression. They're like yearning to be free as well. And there is a need for like strikes and protests and whatnot. But there's also a need for walks for peace and for candlelight vigils and for little community gardens and little canatherapy friend circles, and all of these things contribute to the world that we want to live in. And in fact, it gets really simple in the sense that if we want to live in a world of peace, each day we live in a peaceful world, we have created that for ourselves and for our family. So we get to live the world that we want to live and be the change. I know it's cliche, but literally when we embody the change, not just, you know, that's people say, maybe they get just caught up on how do you be that? Well, you embody the change by literally putting it into your life as best you can every day, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit.
Exactly. Well said.
I mean, to me, I love this stuff because I don't know, growing up, I was like, the world's crazy and nobody notices. This is weird. Why don't people say, like, why, you know, you see things like homelessness or whatever, like, why do we let this happen? Like, there's no need for this. And I think a child's mind and a young person's mind is able to look at that hypocrisy and just like be like, no, I don't accept, right? I don't accept that. And for me, now that people, it's crazy now, and people would say, oh, it's more chaotic now. But for me, it feels more honest. Even if it's more toxic, it feels more honest about what the world really is. And I don't feel like I'm getting gaslit about what I see and feel. It's like, yeah, no, things are fucked. But, you know, there's cracks in the facade now. There's hope. There's light in the tunnel. But, you know, obviously there's a lot of people that still aren't willing to admit that we're in a crisis, that we're in a time of great change. They'd rather pretend that we're not. And I understand that too. So, but we're all facing this, everybody, right? All the humans, there's no more disconnection from humans. If we are throwing hate at somebody or something, no matter how justified we feel, we are in fact hating ourselves in some weird way, some like convoluted way. We're hurting ourselves. So there's just this, at some point there needs to be, like at the end of every war or conflict, there's a time where people come together and there's a peace conference and they're like, all right, I'm sorry about this. Yeah, me too. We won't fight each other anymore. Hugging, no more war, right? And so there's a need to forgive one's enemy at some point, or just to agree to live in peace, to not fight, to just put down our arms. So there's nobody that's not going through this, right? Even the powerful are deeply affected by this right now.
Probably, like, it seems, you know, somebody might wonder, like, well, Dee, if you feel so heartbreaking, how are you finding some joy in all this? And, you know, and that's exactly part of it, what you're just talking about, how it is, you know, forcing some people to actually see the truth, you know, because that's also part of the ability of plant medicine is to clarify for us. So these things that are going on, they are helping people clarify. You know, first of all, that these people are not, you know, the people that are in charge are not in charge because they're better or smarter or whatever than us. They're in charge because they chose to go in that, you know, direction, and you know, whatever their agenda is for that might not have anything to do with us. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know. I personally feel much like when I'm talking to people, I feel like there's this sort of shock about like how if, you know, you just something dramatic happen, like when you have a child or you know, you have sex for the first time, you know, willingly, right? You know, things like that, those really significant events that help shift you in a different way, right? They open you up to a different, more fuller version of yourself, right? So in many ways, even though I'm so sad about what is happening, I understand that it is necessary in order for change to happen. This is always how change happens. Mm-hmm. And so I just only wish that, they say an addict or an alcoholic cannot quit until they hit their rock bottom. So in the same vein, I just wonder where people's rock bottom is. Like what has to occur before us as a society, a large community, until we say, hey, no, enough is enough. We don't want to go this way. We're going to go this way.
I think truthfully, and this is just my view, personal view, but we need to create systems that allow us to constantly check whether or not that things are going as we want them to go. I think we've created these institutions where we are willing to offload our responsibility on daddy figures or mommy figures, and we'll live our life over here, and then there'll be the community and how it works and who decides what we'll leave that to somebody else. And I think that's where we have to be at the local level. We have to be able to be better Democrats in the small d Democrat sense of democratic, and have a democratic society that requires responsibility, that requires people stepping up and volunteering for the PTA or the school board, or running for the local city council, or raising money for somebody or some whatever, right? There's the doing of things is required. And a lot of us are happy to sit on the sidelines and talk about what should be done. But very few people are I will get involved and I will do the thing that I need to do.
Well, it's challenging because as the systems, the system is challenging let's put it this way. When it comes to living authentically, living in a wellness-focused mindset, conscious living, these kinds of things, they don't really fit within the system. So they're kind of opposite. And it makes it challenging then to basically attract the people that you want to be in those situations into those situations, because it doesn't really appeal to them. It's a bit of a riddle, a bit of a conundrum, really.
Yes. And I think it's also, if we think about ourselves as system builders, and that every system is constantly requiring feedback, and every system has mechanisms to adjust and to learn and to change and to become more efficient or become better or whatever it is. So we're part of these systems, right? This whole world that you spoke about this earlier, this matrix of social values and norms and expectations and hidden, cultural things that we're all supposed to know, but no one ever tells us. All of that stuff, right, keeps our perspective locked in a certain way. But these systems have rules, right? These systems are built on rules, and our participation in the system is what gives it its authority and power. So I feel like we're at a time where new systems need to be created and built. And so these kind of things that you're talking about, intentional living or conscious communities or all these things, that's helping to build or at least adjust the system to give us more space in the future to do more of those kind of things. Mm-hmm. Someone has to be the trailblazer and put it out there and go through and do it. And then all of a sudden people see now it's possible, and then more people adopt it and more people become influenced by it.
Well, I must say that, for all of the challenges that, this international connectivity through the internet has brought us, it's also brought us that power, because we are more connected than ever before. And we have the ability to be more connected than ever in our history, right? Mm-hmm. So, that's why I think one of the reasons why I felt that it was important to start a podcast to talk about these kinds of things with you, because, we are not the only ones that are trying to create a better world for ourselves, for our children, our grandchildren, whatever, and take advantage of the opportunity of being him, of being this amazing, incredible being that's walking the earth for a few years.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Holy shit, that was wild. Where did that go? It was hard not to go and get into politics.
I like it though. I mean, like, this is it. We're talking about real, like, politics of the Platonic, the Socratic, the philosophy of politics, the philosophy of power. Like, how do we? These are very interesting conversations that don't require a partisan view. They don't require taking a side, right? You can actually sit and probe and look at these questions in a way that doesn't always land in what's happening here and now. That's why I love history. I'm a student of history. I love history podcasts because you can look at from a distance. You're not required to bring that same energy of what's happening and what your politics are or how you view things.
Yeah, like, it doesn't really matter, right? Like, that's kind of beside the point, because people are always going to have differences of opinion because it's based on their own experience of life. So you can't tell someone just because someone doesn't agree with you that they're wrong. You just can't do that for the most part. So I just, honestly, we're crazy. We're crazy as human beings. I mean, we're not that crazy.
I heard a funny joke today, which is based on the Mitch Hedberg joke, but it's we used to be apes. We still are apes, but we used to be too.
I like that. That's cute.
And yeah, we are. I don't know. I find that humans are always so disappointed in humans, and I'm kind of like, why are we so disappointed in each other? Why do we think that the world?
So mean.
But why do we come in thinking that it shouldn't be that way? Like, what gives us that kind of perspective? Like, do we know how mean it used to be? Is it meaner? Is it less mean? Like, we don't know as people how. There's this one Alan Watts talk where he says, if you were to give someone a dream and you say to that person, you can dream anything you want, and every night is going to be 8 hours of the best dream you ever have, and you get to choose exactly what you want to do. He's like, the first number of nights you're going to do the best life possible. All the things you ever wanted, your mom, your dad, your grandparents, everything, the ice cream, the pony, you get it all for as many nights as you want. As many nights as you want, you get to dream this, and you wake up every morning having had that experience. Well, after a while, you're going to kind of look around and go, well, this has been nice, but it would be nice to be surprised about a good thing happening. It would be nice to be not to be sure that this thing is going to happen. So let me have a dream that I know in the end I'm going to get everything, but I don't know throughout the dream. There might be momentary crises where I don't get the right, where I don't think I'm going to get it. Right. Mm-hmm. And eventually you're going to keep creating different dream scenarios. And he says, eventually you'll get back to this dream where it's sometimes good, it's sometimes bad. Mostly it's going to be neutral, but ultimately, your life is unfolding in front of you. And that always left me with the sense of well, I guess it's okay to be content with where I'm at right now, with where humanity's at right now, because I can't really change it. I can break my neck trying to change it, but I can't change what is. And the fact is, humans do crazy, dumb things and inspiring, beautiful things. And sometimes the same person does that in the same afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and, honestly, there's a place in there of acceptance. And that's really what the goal needs to be. Acceptance doesn't mean you're happy about something. It doesn't mean that it's perfect. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means that, you know, you can find your peace with it and carry on, you know?
Yeah.
So,
and ultimately, that's where there's room to move. Once the acceptance of what is can take place, then we can create something different.
yes.
But if we're always fighting with reality, then we can't ever create anything new.
Exactly. Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I think that's why I'm so fascinated by death.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my whole life. And I don't know. I just find that, you know, when I'm focused on the big picture, it makes the little picture of my life sometimes when it's really challenging, it makes it easier to bear.
Mm.
You know, it's like a key perspective, I guess.
I call it the little I versus the big I.
The little I versus. Yeah. So that's why I love having these kinds of conversations with other people that like having these kind of conversations, because it inevitably leaves me grateful. And I love being in that grateful state of mind. It's very pleasing to me. It's very joyful. Because my mind, I don't know. It's funny because I feel like in different parts of my life, different parts of me, body, mind, heart, and soul, I feel like different parts of me have asked for their own healing in their own way.
Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
I feel that.
I never tried to explain it like that before, but that seems the most accurate way to say it.
Yeah, like it's almost like it's like on a little like like I view it as like a circle. It's kind of always moving, and depending on the season, depending on where I'm at in life, I'm like, oh, my physical health really is calling me to do something, or like actually I haven't had these conversations, so I haven't had these opportunities to like think about things and talk about them in a while. So there's a healing from just conversing. And kind of there's a soothing, especially when we talk about difficult or complicated topics, and we're able to find some resonance and some alignment with each other in the conversation. It kind of leaves us a little bit more secure. Be like, okay, yeah, there's another person that doesn't think I'm a total crazy person, and we figured something out. So maybe all hope isn't lost, you know.
And surrounding yourself with really amazing people is really powerful as well. I was talking about that with an acquaintance the other day and saying, like, I must be doing okay, because when I look at the close people in my close circle, like the people in my closest circle, like they're all really amazing people. And the fact that they consider me their friend as well is like, it's really meaningful to me. So I'm like, good job, Dee. You got the right.
Absolutely. We all need, I would say, the takeaway I hope people get from this episode is we all need absolute forgiveness for ourselves, like 100 million times more than we're doing every single day. Like even the people that are out there thinking like, no, I forgive myself. I did forgiveness work, at a workshop. No, like we're so burdened with guilt and shame and little things that we do. Just when we disappoint someone, there's like a little bit of a weight that just gets put on us, or we're late and we tried our best, but we got there late, but we know it was a problem and it caused the annoyance or whatever. It's like another little thing. And so all day long, we're just hanging little weights on ourselves. And if we don't practice forgiving and being like, whew, I did my best. I couldn't be there on time. I'm sorry. Like I did everything I could and I'm just going to forgive myself. Like you might be mad, but I'm not going to be mad at me. Right. I'm not going to punish myself for things that I'm trying to get better every day. I'm doing my best. And so I'm not going to punish myself for things that didn't go right or things that I could have done better, because we don't have time for that. Like we just got to shake this stuff off every single day if we want to keep going.
And feel good about ourselves. Like it's easy to, I think it's well, I believe that it's easy for to succumb to what others, the world's expectations for you or your family or your partner or even your children or your parents, right? Other people's expectations on you can be a real heavy weight. There's no doubt about that. And so, you don't need to add to it, right? But it's easy to fall into that, because someone else is saying that this is true, that this is who you are, that this is true for you, right? And so again, for me, I can't rely. Well, I can now today because like I just said, I have a group of, a small group of really amazing people. And so I know that if I felt bad about something about myself today, I could say that. I could be honest about it with one of them. And, they would say to me, because they care about me, they would say, okay, well, I guess you try better next time. Ultimately, you're only human. You are human. So you are going to make mistakes all the time. That's what humans do. That's how we learn. That's how we grow, hopefully, right? Sometimes we just repeat them over and over. The lesson is repeated until it's learned. So we sometimes have to do things a few times. But hopefully, eventually, we learn and we grow from that. And like, again, it's about that journey. It's not about the destination or arriving someplace. Oh, look at me, I'm so perfect now. I'm like, I don't know, Mother Teresa with that.
Then yeah, you can't even say these names anymore because someone's got canceled for something, like there's all these, everybody that's like, yeah, like Mother Teresa, or even poor Gandhi is no longer safe from his historical mistakes. So it's like, and again, I think it's as much we're joking here. This is our responsibility now. We don't need to give it over to these leaders, to these people who are perfect, who are pretending to be perfect, right? None of us is. No, even them, they're not perfect. So might as well forgive ourselves.
I feel like the more that I, accept and like forgive and even celebrate my imperfections, the happier I am and the better I am, because it's rewarding to me, and to be, a decent person. It's rewarding for me to wake up and be excited about what the day might hold, like what kind of experiences or, people or whatever the case may be. And that is so very different to how I felt in many other times in my life. Just like discouraged, just waking up and going, do I have to do this again? But yeah, I just feel like we owe it to ourselves to try to be as happy as we can be and to try to find as much joy as we can. And, it's different things for different people. And even though I don't want to talk about, these politics in any kind of like specific way, but I will say that this desire for power and money and control and like all these things, like this is the real illness. This is the real disease that I see. I feel like those people should not be in those positions.
I have a message for the elites. Can I give a message for the elites? Lean in, elites. Come on, elites. Here, right into the mic here. Listen. Our parties are better, right? You guys are trying to control everything and you're trying to run around all day long and make sure everyone's under where they should be, but you're missing out on the absolute fun part of life, right? This is why I think the people or progressive movements or whatever are always going to be better, because our parties are better. Our food is better. Our parties are better. Our dancing is better. It's more fun. It's more interesting. Like trying to live a life of control is boring and it's painful and it's unpleasant versus the life of, hey, we're going to take each day as it comes. We're going to do what we can. And hopefully we leave this place better than we found it.
Well, that seems as noble a goal as I can think of, you know. I mean, if you're really going to get into it, like what are we here for? You know, like what
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like to these elites or people in power, like what are we absolutely doing here? Right? We don't need, it's like, it's all a choice. We're all making this choice to suffer together unnecessarily. And if we were to like, we're always going to have conflict. We're always going to have, I feel, some hierarchies and, you know, some people are going to over time accrue power through families and other people will have less. And I don't ever think we're ever going to be like some equilibrium, but we can have it so that we fail forward. That when we fail, our societies don't have to start again at zero and rebuild from scratch. That we're always thinking about the future. Even if we disagree with the politics of the present, we can align on having a future that gives humans and the earth and animals and everything more of a chance to build something else if we're wrong, right? I think if we just gave ourselves a little bit more room on that front and thought about it like intergenerationally, then some of the conflicts that we're facing, we'll still face them, but at least there'll be some shared sense that we're in something together. Because right now it feels like there are people who believe that they are of complete enemies in the world and their enemies are dangerous and going to destroy everything. Unfortunately, their enemies also feel that way about them, which is where we're at right now.
Yeah, and like nobody wins. Nobody wins, you know. I can't believe that with everything we have at our disposal, with like our and who we are as you know, humans, I can't believe that we would still resort to war. Like, why are we in a place where we have to go to war? Like can't it be mediated? Like, can't I just don't even understand it. I don't understand, and maybe that's where, you know, I need to get more, you know, information. But no, I don't want to understand. I don't want to understand why people have to resolve themselves to war. You know? So
I remember I was in Belgium and in a little town called Ypres, which was in World War I, this town where gas was first used, chemical warfare was first used in World War I. And the town itself was destroyed by bombing, but they've rebuilt it. And they have a clock tower in the middle of the town, and you go up about 500 meters. And I looked around, and at this point, I was on this like battlefield tour of different war sites in Europe. And it was like something changed when I walked up the tower. When I got up to the tower, I looked around and I saw nothing but flat land everywhere. And I thought, what idiots would have a war on a flat land with no high ground? And they just would like stand in front of each other and shoot each other for 4 years, and millions of people will die for no reason. Like World War II, you know, I guess you could, there's a lot of people that would still justify why it took place and you know, it's a righteous thing, whatever, fair enough. Like, let's just put that to a side for a second. But we can all get behind the fact that nobody wanted to fight the First World War and nobody knew why we were fighting the First World War. So I think for me, I came away with this feeling of, yes, war is dumb. We shouldn't do it. But the question remains, why are we still doing it? Like, what has to change so that we stop doing it? And those are the questions that are of the utmost importance right now.
Exactly. But, you know, the powers that be, you know, they're not talking about, you know, their mental health, their state of their mental health. They're not talking about this kind of stuff. So this isn't anywhere even considered in any of that stuff. It's got nothing to do with what is in the best interest of people.
I would say it's even worse in that they probably all have breathwork coaches and meditation teachers, but they are using that stuff to create more power and more influence. I know for a fact that a lot of billionaires are really into astrology, and they really tap into all of these like modalities, and they use those healing modalities and this manifestation work to accrue and to continue perpetuating their structures. So it's like, it's worse because they're using it as a weapon instead of it as a healing instrument.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can't change them. So I guess we just got to do what we can to counteract that, to be here for the other people who don't want to live like that, or, you know, necessarily live according to that. I don't know.
I'm telling you, they're going to want to come to our parties. Eventually, they're going to get bored with their thing, and they're going to want to be part of the people too, right? There are so many people that just want to be loved, and they want appreciation. They want to be part of something. So the more that we can create societies that where that kind of thing gets rewarded, where that kind of where the acts of service is what we honor, right? Not just acts of warfare, but acts of like actually helping the community, and we start to shift what we reward. I absolutely feel like the elites or whatever will come along with that perspective. Like we all grow together and we all kind of lag together, it feels like.
Yeah, there's no easy answer, I guess, or else we'd have found it already. And
yeah.
You know, maybe, I don't know, you know, what do I know? Like maybe that's all part of the plan. I don't know, you know, the plan, right? Like there's some kind of overall being that's got a plan. I don't know. I find that really hard to believe.
Well, we can listen to Bob, who said, have no fear of atomic energy, because none of them can stop the times.
Exactly.
So either way, I think fear is whatever we believe about the world. I think fear is something that we don't need to live with. There, we can work through our fears and embody there and change and learn and reframe that fear and help it drive us, because that what we create and who we are is what we amplify, and we put out more and we create more of that. So no matter what we're doing, we're always sending a signal to reality about what kind of reality we're building and creating.
Yeah, you know, there's some people that really believe in that, like everybody lives in their own reality. And I understand that, and to some degree, I think there's a lot of truth in that. But yeah, you know, all you can really do is like let your lantern shine and hope to attract others that are looking for that light that matches their own light. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll find each other in the darkness.
Exactly.
And thank God for that, because there's such a power in community that is unlike anything that we can create singly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have we reached that point, or is there more to say?
Well, I think, I don't know, like anything else been on your mind lately?
No, I think this is like, we covered some very rich terrain today.
For sure.
We went deep, and we really, it felt like a good, authentic, sharing, honest, funny conversation. So I think our work here is done.